You're listening to the Two in the Mud podcast with Tony Rico and Scott Smith.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hello, hope everyone's doing great. Scott, we've made it to episode 3.
Yeah, third time's a charm. I don't think we had as many. We didn't have as many
Nope.
technical difficulties.
We
We're
didn't have
figuring this
any.
shit out.
Last one, your mic sounded better than mine, so that was good. So I've been instructed to stick this mic in my face a little bit more. So we're
Man, dude, half the time I don't even know if this sounds
slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah,
We're good.
yeah.
So what's happening, man?
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Hey, so I finally got hit with a little bit of the crud. We work around these kids all the time, and I like to think, I mean, we can only live so much of a healthy lifestyle with our schedule, but if my voice sounds a little lower, it's finally got hit with that little bit of something. And
Man,
you've been able to escape it, or you catch it every now and then too, or
no. This week I had the same kind of stuff going. My wife did too, and we blame each other. Like, you gave it to me. Now you know what it probably was? It was probably that 13-year-old I was in here talking to, that the 10, 13-year-olds I was hanging around that don't wash their hands and touch a softball, and I'm touching the softball. But yeah, no, it's that time of the year, bro. It is.
I tell you that the one thing that I do now is when I go to the supermarket, give me one of those damn things to wipe down that cart, because I do feel like, man, I never really thought about that. It's like shaking hands, right? You're shaking 100 hands and stuff. Where your damn hands been?
There's people that won't shake people's hands because of that. I'm not that. Like, I'm probably the other way around. Like, I don't think about it. Probably is my wife. I mean, every time we go somewhere, she's pulling out hand sanitizer trying to squirt the shit in my hands. I'm like, my hands ain't dirty. No, but this is dirty and that's dirty, and you touch this and you touch. Like, she's a germaphobe. There's no question.
Right. I got one for you. So we were talking a little bit about last week about or last episode about kids, right? So I broke my arm when I was 4, messing around with my sister, and I was just going to say I deserved it. So I pushed her, she pushed me, and my arm broke. So so my brother-in-law puts me in the car with his buddy, raced me to the emergency room. And let's just say, like, that was 1969. So let people know how old I am. And so,
You're old as shit, bro.
bathing wasn't a priority for me back then. So it was just like you run around, I'm barefoot, my hair's all over the place. And so we get to the emergency room. I'm laying there in the gurney. I remember looking up at the ceiling, seeing the lights. And then my mom peers over me. And she looks at my face, and then she looks at my dad and goes, "Johnny, give me your handkerchief." And my mom is extremely dignified, man. I can't see too many undignified moments for my mom. I guess this might fall into one of them. She takes my dad's handkerchief, and she spits in it and just starts wiping my face, dude, like wiping my face down. She didn't want the doctor to see her son with that dirty ass face. Yeah. And I'm going, like, she's moving me around. I kind of feel my arm. I think my bone was sticking out. And I was like, okay,
Did you have long hair? Hey, bro, I'm trying to picture you as like a kid. Did you have like long hair? Like, was it curly? Was it long? Like, what'd you look like as a
curly,
kid?
So for anybody out there that suffers in curly hair hell, you want it to be long, because I grew up in the hippie era, right?
Yeah.
So it was long hair parted down the middle. So when you had curly hair, I wonder how many people relate to just like you put a knit hat on, you put another hat on, you do everything to like, and then you try to get it like when you leave for school, it like looks kind of cool, but by 8:39, it all starts rolling up like window shades. So then you see a picture
It's
of yourself.
pushing your head
Thank
up.
the Lord there weren't phones back then, bro, because my school head. It was.
Bro,
it
you
was
know who I
it was
look-
a Jimi Hendrix chaos head, I guess, something like that.
That kind of hair rolling.
How about you?
Dude, you know who I looked like when I was a little kid? And I mean, like, if you see pictures of me and him, I'm going to throw a name at you, and you tell me if you know who I'm talking about. Tanner Bull. Think about that.
Who is that?
From the Bad News Bears, the little blonde-haired dude that played second.
Oh,
that beat the shit
little
and fought everybody.
Tanner.
Yeah.
Did you have blonde hair like that?
Yes, it was white as his shirt, dude. And hey, I acted just like that dude. Like, literally, it was almost as if that character was me. Like that's it. I wanted to fight everybody and shit. Like, but I looked just like that dude. Like, that's how I rolled around. Face dirty.
I gotta be honest with you. That is not a stretch to picture you like Tanner.
No, yeah.
Including
but I know what you're talking
slamming
about.
your glove on the ground.
Oh, pissed off. dude, like ready to kick people. But I know what you're talking about. Like, but my mom would just like lick her finger and like rub it on your face to clean your face and shit. She didn't even use a handkerchief. It was like her spit.
Oh, it'd be like,
yeah,
right.
like
Yeah.
come on, man. Like no, you're fighting her off. Yeah,
Everything was in my imagination, which ended up, I think, paying off in the long run.
yes, no doubt, no doubt.
Give me I
So
think George Carlin said this, give me a stick and give me some dirt and maybe one Hot Wheel car. I'm good.
yeah, you know, like the cool things that used to occupy our attention, like today, like kids having like you see little 8-year-olds and they got little iPads and they're looking at like I was thinking about all the crazy stuff that we used to
And
do,
a
like
batting cage in their backyard.
yeah, but bro, like I remember we lived in Plano, Texas when I was a little kid because my dad we moved from San Antonio up to North Texas and lived in Plano, and we lived by a creek, right? And it was just a regular old bullshit creek. It wasn't deep. I mean, the creek may have been a foot deep, but you know what was in that creek? And I spent every day catching these some
Water
bitches.
moccasins.
No, well, there was water moccasins probably down there too. Crawdads, dude. So we get the little stick with the string and the little piece of bacon. We thought we were like we had our shit together. We would go down and catch a crawdad in a creek that was 6 inches deep, and just we'd spend all day long catching who could catch the most crawdads, and then throw the some bitches back and go catch the same crawdads tomorrow. And we did that all day long. And we would ride our bike with the little cards in the spokes, so it made noise when we went down the street. And that's the kind of shit we did, you know.
Riding a wheelie with, I think they called it a sissy bar. If you had the cool thing in the back that kind of came up like a big old U shape, I don't even know what the heck, and it was kind of interesting. The Schwinn Stingray, I think, were the bikes that we used to ride.
Yes.
Making jumps off the curbs, piling
Well-
up bricks and putting a piece of wood board over it, and eating shit and endoing over the front handlebars.
See,
Those are
you
the days.
guys out on the West Coast, like the whole BMX thing, that obviously kind of is where it thing kicked itself off. Were you guys? Well, let me ask this way: did you have a Mongoose, a Diamondback, a Red Line? Which one did you have, dog? Because I had every single one of those bikes when I was like in middle school, and
So started off, again, we didn't get a lot of, or ask for a lot of material things. And man, I wanted that new bike. Dad, can I have a new bike? 7 years old. My mom and dad buy me. There was no Mongoose yet. It was still the Stingrays so I get this yellow Stingray, right? And I'm like, oh damn, new bike. So I'm loving it, man. I'm riding every day, and maybe 8 years old. And somehow I make this little team, the city all-star team. Just, I don't know, it was like Overline something. And me and my friend made it. We had a practice at the local park, and he had a dog, but he didn't have a bike. So I'm like, we're going to go to practice together. So we walk to the park, but I'm on my bike, kind of just walking along with my feet with my buddy and his dog. We get to the park, and the rec leader comes out and tells my buddy, you don't have a leash on the dog. You have to go home. Or you have to leave the park, right? And I looked at him, and he was going to start crying because he had never made anything. He was like, I'm only 8, right? I'm already thinking of other people, and I feel bad that he just had this look at his face like I have to take my dog home. So that brand new bike, I had a lock, had a red cover on it, and I'm an idea guy, so I take the chain and I put it around the dog's neck, and I lock it right here, and then I hand the other end to my friend like it's a leash, right? Mm-hmm. And I look at the rec guy and I go, will that work? And he goes, that'll work. I go, great. So then I put my brand new bike in the bike rack with no lock. It was stolen by the end of practice. And then so the next bike I got a Mongoose when I was 12, and I think I broke that thing within 6 weeks, dude. Like just slamming it on the ground with jumps and stuff like
the
that.
Diamondback, bro. The Diamondback. Yeah. Like those bikes, I remember it was chrome. Like I had a chrome bike. Uh-huh. Like I thought I was a pimp. Like all my buddies did not have a chrome bike. I had a chrome bike with blue wheels. Yeah. You don't have that.
No.
Like
I remember they started becoming pretty cool. At the end of my bike riding days, there was one called a Stoker, I think, or something pretty streamlined. If BMX would have been a thing, and I would have seen anybody like do a 360 in the air or something, I would have for sure killed myself on a bike
For
before.
sure.
Yeah, I
And
was
not a
lucky I missed that.
like how I think back at how big we used to build ramps and the shit we used to jump over. Like we would jump over cars. Like we would jump over my dad's car, my mom's car. She's watching us. We're jumping over the hood of the car. Like what?
We
Kids
came
don't
from
jump
the
over
age
hoods
where
of cars anymore.
we would do things to see if it hurt. Ju-
Yeah.
Why are you jumping off the roof? We wanted to see
Yeah.
how bad it would hurt our legs.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
How about
No,
this?
that
You're what? You played Little League, 8 years old? What were your?
yeah,
Just
no,
do
I
about
was
5 minutes so people don't get too bored of our childhoods. But
yeah, bro. Like
tell me,
you know what's I'm not real proud to say. I liked soccer. I like soccer now. There was a stretch in my life where I was embarrassed to say I liked soccer because when I was a little kid, I was a stud. Like I was a stud. And then I was a stud all the way up to the point that I started playing tackle football. And you remember this name, Walt Garrison? Remember Walt Garrison played for the Cowboys?
Mhm.
All right. So Walt Garrison lived in Plano, Texas. Well, he lived in Louisville, Texas. And so we moved from Plano to Louisville up there. And Walt Garrison was my coach, right? My youth coach.
nice.
Yeah, so cool. So we played in Texas Stadium, like we did shit like that.
Now that
So
was what age?
that'd have been about 10, 11 years old, right?
So you have your buddies were playing football and you did too, or that's something
Yeah,
you wanted to do?
football. Yeah, but I was there. wasn't ever big enough to be. I was really good at football. So I wasn't ever big enough to make anything out of it all the way through high school. But baseball was the thing. I played on the team that we got within one game of playing at Williamsport. We lost in the
Ooh,
game to go to Williamsport. Yeah, yeah,
heartbreak.
yeah. Slidell, Louisiana beat us. And then the
Yeah,
following year we went to.
that kind of explains a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, I'm used to getting seconds. I started it when I was 12 years
Oh
old.
no. The sting of the loss, right? The sting of the
Oh,
loss.
yeah.
Like, oh damn,
Sucks.
oh man,
Yeah,
that's
well,
understandable.
the guy,
What was
the
your batting practice growing up?
fucking like throwing
Was it
rocks and yeah, like you throw
right?
rocks at yeah, throw rocks and hit it with your bat, and your bat looked like dog shit, and you show
Hey,
up at the field.
that was the 27-degree angle right there with a stick and a
Yeah,
rock.
launch angle,
I
man.
had to hit it over my neighbor's house.
Yeah, no doubt. How many windows we broke, because we're hitting rocks and they're coming off our aluminum bats. Yeah, like
Broke the long window of my dad's new station wagon.
mm,
I threw up a rock, but it kind of stuck to my hand and it kind of went over my shoulder and I swung it. I hit it, so I hit the ball
going
hit
backwards.
the rock behind me, and
Yeah,
then I'm about to go to eat dinner. I start to hear this tss, pop, tss, pop, tss, pop, and I'd never seen a window spider crack before.
just spider crack.
It was cracking in front of my eyes. And I don't know if anyone remembers Fast Times at Ridgemont High when they
Yeah,
crashed the car, and he goes, "My dad's going to shit. My dad's going to kill me." And then Spicoli goes, "Is he going to shit or is he going to kill us?" He goes, "First he's going to shit, then he's going to
then
kill
he's
us."
gonna kill us.
And I always
Yeah,
expected that from my dad, but he was always just mellow about it. But
dude. If people
my
have
mom didn't
not
fix the
watched,
windows till I left.
yes, if you're out there and you have not watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High, like if that's not a movie you've ever watched,
Or
you
Bad News
need it.
Bears.
Or Bad News Bears. Yeah, when you see Tanner Bull, you'll know. Oh, that was Coach Scott right there when he was a kid.
Favorite like baseball or sports movies.
Wow, man, that's so hard.
Yeah,
Um,
what comes to your mind though?
mm, I like Miracle. You
All right.
know, Miracle was cool to me because it was a true story, right? I watch. This is crazy. Now I watch a ton of. I guess you want to say documentary series, and that's why I'm now a soccer fan, right? But Prime Network has a thing called All or Nothing, and I suggest it if you want something cool to watch. And they basically follow sports teams, and they've done it on the Cowboys, they've done it on the Cardinals, they've done it on the All Blacks rugby team, they've done it on Manchester United, Manchester City soccer. I watched the one on Manchester City, and it changed the way I approach even coaching my own program and the way I organize, and it's impressive. So I'm a bit. I
What was
watch a
your
lot of.
biggest takeaway
Um,
from that?
really was the biggest part for me was the organizational structure that soccer has, from a player development process, from a player performance. Those are two separate things, and I've tried to separate that in our own program: is player performance and player development, because performance is in game and development is pre-game. Is how we get ready to play games, and so those are two different things. And we've structured inside of our program player performance and player development as a byproduct of that. And then having a much more collective, there's a huge collective effort of people making the decisions on player movements. You know, this player goes to this roster. It's time for this player to advance. It's time for this player. Maybe we need to send this player down and get some more development, kind of thing, versus that player not just sitting on the bench and not getting any development. So
Right.
just watching that, obviously we don't have the resources that they have to be able to do those things, but just, you know, those kind of things. And it was
Right.
cool. Yeah. And the head coach from that, I study a lot of what he does. His name is Pep Guardiola. He's one of the absolute best. And if you watch Manchester City, they win the Premier League almost every year. It's really good stuff. So if you got something you want to watch, go watch All or Nothing on Prime, the Manchester City one, and it's good. It's good stuff.
Well,
What's your favorite? What's your favorite sports movie?
It will always be Pride of the Yankees.
Pride of the Yankees. Wow.
Bro, Gary Cooper playing Lou Gehrig. I think I probably saw it when I was 5 years old. And you kind of feel it in your heart, the whole movie, of like Lou Gehrig's just this nice guy that, kind of went in there, and then he gets sick. And I thought like his wife was like the most beautiful woman in the world. This is all like, 1930s. It was made in the 30s. My mom was a little older, born a little earlier. So a lot of those actresses kind of reminded me of my mom, and so her eyes lit up. And then when he gets sick at the end, and then he does his speech, and then he walks off the field. Bro, I'll start crying thinking about that. And so we used to, I don't know if you knew this, but, and we were pretty well known for this, the long post-game ceremony after the last game, but we would have and we still do, we have our seniors walk off arm in arm. And it took me quite a few years to realize that I had replicated the end of Pride of the Yankees, where at the very last scene of the movie, you see Lou Gehrig walk off of the tunnel, and you see number 4 fade away, and you never see him again. Okay, I didn't realize I did this, but every year I have our seniors put their arm in arm, and I have them walk away from our players that are going to remain, and then they walk off, right? And it gets kind of emotional because it's their last work day together, right? So Pride of the Yankees was like numero uno, and then the number one is, man, when I saw Rocky, whoo, they're lucky there were no boxing gyms around our house, because that was like, I think I saw that movie 5 or 6 times, and you didn't do that back then. Yeah. That was it.
The whole sequel stuff, I struggle with sometimes, but Rocky that's good. Man, how hard is it? Like, he made me think about it a little bit. Like, how hard is it every year saying goodbye to those freaking seniors? Like, it's so challenging because you go to battle and it happens pretty quick too. Like, this last year was it's one of the only times I know when the end's going to be. Like, a lot of times you just don't know when the end's going to happen. And when it happens, it's brief. It happens quick. You weren't prepared for it. I hate it. I'll be honest with you. I hate it.
It's a tough one. I've become, and this isn't a good thing, but more calloused.
Yeah.
I to take the deep dive into emotions. I'm an empath, right? So we dive deep into emotions and feelings and stuff. But this long into it, it's still there, and Sean delivers. Sean's always great at talking to the kids and delivering from his heart and really loving the kids. And
yeah,
so even that, try not to take too much of time and talk about too many things. So, but it's still there. I mean, it's always something. And I'm one of those guys that I tell them, look, I'm going to be here for you. Call me if you need me. I don't want to hear that you needed me and you didn't call me, but I'm not going to call and check in on you. I'm not going to send you texts after your games. Bro, I heard from one of our players yesterday that a teammate on her high school team gets texts from her parents after every at bat with either an angry red emoji face or what the hell you doing, or like, bro,
that's hard.
Let's go down that one another day, as far as like, or maybe when we talk about the 4-a-day stuff, we'll talk about that. But let me do this one with you.
We need to do
Opening
that.
day yesterday.
Yeah, Astros won.
Did you watch your boys?
I did. Astros. Well, we tried to mess it up. We're throwing like a 2-hitter going into the 8th inning, and our starter, Framber Valdez, just dealing on the Mets, and we're up 3-0, and we put our setup guy in. He gets the base. He walks the bases loaded and gets out of it on a lace to center field. Like, gets out of it. Okay, okay, cool. We're gonna go to Josh Hader in the 9th. We'll be good. Hader strikes out the first, walks the bases loaded again, gives up a fly ball to get it to 3-1 with runners at first and third. He's got to face Juan Soto to end the game.
So right there, that's what we pay for,
Yep.
right? To see that matchup. So I saw a reel of that at bat, and I didn't know what was going to happen because I didn't know the outcome of the game, bro.
Yeah.
Does it get better than that? Because the last reel I saw with Juan Soto, the guy asked him, "Who's the greatest hitter of all time?" And he goes, "Me."
Yeah. Hader made him look bad on that one, boy. But I mean, dude, how do you walk 6 batters? The last 6 batters of the game, you put them on base. Come on, man. Come on. And we found a way to win. Now we'll go out there probably today and get mollywop but the cool thing was we used 3 arms yesterday, so that's good. But
Right.
yeah, your Dodgers looked good.
We squeaked one out.
Otani goes tank right out the gate.
Yep. Close one.
Does he hit? Are you over or under him hitting 50 this year?
I think they have enough protection that he can.
Yeah. You ain't
I
gonna
mean,
pitch
come on, bro.
around too many.
Like Otani, Betts, and Freeman.
It's tough, dude. It's tough.
Put one on, and you still got 2 batters to do something, and then you got Teoscar. Like, bro, they're just
loaded.
fun to watch.
Like I said, they're loaded. Their nemesis will be injury. You know, that's what my buddy Rico that works for me here works with me. He's a big baseball guy. He's a big Yankees guy, and I always try to tell him, I'm like, bro, y'all are only as good as how healthy you are, because everybody on your team is 800 years old. They're all old, right? Y'all don't have a farm system. You trade that. You sell those players to get these names that Giancarlo Stanton plays about 50 games a year, right? The question is, which 50 is he going to play, right?
Bro, Mike Trout comes back and gets hit on the hand first at bat. What
Bro, I'm
the
fighting.
hell?
I'm fighting. Like I'm fighting right there. Like, bro,
I
come
just
on,
told
man.
myself if the Angels, like, I'm sorry, if we don't go a little old school there, I don't care if the Chicago wind's blowing, bro. That doesn't happen.
You hit me on the first pitch of the year.
Nolan Ryan, Bob Gibson, Don Drysdale. Like, dude, you're going. I don't even know. But I just saw that. I'm thinking for the guy, because we have Angel tickets, and there's usually a certain amount of the year before the Angels are out of the race that they're actually kind of fun games to watch.
Wait,
you don't want to.
They'll be out of the race in like May 1st, right?
Well, if he would have went down yesterday, they're already out. Like we haven't even had a home game yet, and nobody wants our tickets. You know, nobody wants our tickets unless everyone's asking for Yankee tickets or Dodger tickets, or would you get season tickets to see the visiting teams coming in?
Yeah. And you got good seats too, man. I've sat in those seats.
It's actually a good deal, right? Because it's a lot cheaper to buy season tickets.
Hey,
look at a losing team.
look at your schedule and find out when the Astros are in town, and I'm gonna fly in. Can I have your tickets? Because y'all hate the Astros out there. No one's gonna ask you for those tickets but me.
Our local coach, Coach Jeff Forsberg, who I coached with at Huntington Beach High School, he's the only Astro fans that I know, and I'll try to give him all three.
The only Astro fan in California.
He goes, I'll just take one. He'll take one. You know, so bro, I'll tell you what. I know you're the president of the org, but you take a look at the schedule and let me know when there's an Astro game, and then I'll take care of it.
Yeah,
and then we can go get that steak.
Yeah, we go get that steak for sure, for sure.
Hey, yesterday or this week, you and I spent a little time talking with one of our comrades, Natasha Watley, about slapping.
Yeah, how cool is that?
We had an alliance call, and Tosh talking her game.
She's so good, man. She's so good. She's so good for our sport. You know, like That
How many of today's slappers really know about Tosh? I'm sure they know her
well,
name.
bro, you heard me say that, right? I have that slap group that comes in, and that first thing is like who do you pattern your game after? Like who's your favorite slapper? Who do you model your game after? And they all looked at me like I had horns sticking out of my head, like because kids today don't watch enough sports. Like you and I grew up. We talked
Mimicking what
yeah.
we watched, right?
I wanted to be Eric Davis, right? I wanted to be Eric Davis, right? That was my guy. Will Clark. If I played infield, I wanted to be Will the Thrill. Like that. I watched everything he did.
One of the greatest hitters ever.
Oh man, he was so good. Hell, I tried to be left-handed so I could be Will the Thrill, right? Like that's just. But they didn't know, and that's disappointing. And honestly, I've committed to it. I've got one of those smart boards like you have in y'all's place, and I have one in here now. So like literally, like that's part of it. And they have to now. I've told them. I said every time we have this, each one of you, I'm gonna text you the day of it. You have to come tell me a video you watched, and we're gonna put it up on the smart board. And you're gonna share it with your teammates. And so, that is just forcing them to have conversation. But I sent them a few. I said, this is a name you might want to dig into. Try that thing. Google. It's free. Put Natasha Watley's name in there.
My favorite line that she gave was she says, "My mama is from the Bahamas." So she was talking about her parents, Ed and her mom. But my favorite thing about Tosh, and I call her the goat of slapping because of her accomplishments between playing on the USA team and playing Japan and just the highest levels. But it's like her dignity and grace. I mean, you don't see Tosh graceful. Have a moment where she looks like she can't hold her shit together. And that's the thing, emulate your game after her, but really watch how Natasha Watley conducts herself, the way she speaks, how consistent she is. We tell our coaches, people remember you for your worst moment, not all your best moments. They're going to acknowledge your best moments. Yeah. Especially when you're successful or you've had some success, it's just kind of natural, competitive, whatever nature to, find the worst in people. And good luck finding that with Tosh.
You know what's crazy with her, and this is how I look at really at people in general. I look and I go, can that person exist in any room? Any room, right? Do they only belong in this room because they don't have enough meat and potatoes to them that they can't exist in a room like this, or they're too timid, or they're too brash, or they're too this? Natasha Watley could sit down at any table in America, no matter what the conversation's being about. Are we talking to Fortune 500 CEOs? Are we talking to 11-year-olds about slapping and everything in between? That's what Natasha Watley can do. And so if you're a parent out there and you're trying to figure out who you want your daughter to emulate, Tasha Watley, you're pretty good.
Right. And more than just on the field, right? No, that's a great point. And the thing about her is that she's got a lot of humility. So she doesn't walk into the room like she is the room, even though she's the room, which makes it even better.
Yeah.
When
she's an accomplished coach. A lot of people don't know her about that. Like she coached some of the best players in Japan.
What she's doing. Yeah. Take a look at her. Look her up, people. Check out her videos. Listen to her talk. She's one of the best. Speaking of rooms, what kind of room would you not work in? Would you walk into the room?
I think I probably wouldn't work in a room full of people that are making a shit ton of excuses and talking about their feelings, and I probably wouldn't do good in that room. I can't do it. I saw something the other day and somebody was saying, and look, I'm not downplaying this. Like, I can already hear the people going, yeah. Like, they were talking about how everyone today has anxiety, right? Like that. Yeah. We used to call that butterflies, right? That's what we used to call that. Now it's anxiety. Now it's got this clinical diagnosis that you have to go talk to someone. No, I used to be scared and nervous, and I would overcome it, and I might breathe real fast, but I'm gonna go headstrong. I'm gonna get this. Now you got to go talk to somebody about it.
Now I think it's the number one song.
Yeah, it's crazy. Everybody's anxious.
And disclaimer. So for any generations younger than us. This is a disclaimer that this is how us old shits,
We talk.
we serve you, we work
Yeah.
with you, we do everything we can to understand and relate, but we just had it different. Can you imagine if you heard some guy was talking crap, wanted to fight you after school, and you're like, bro, I got anxiety. I can't go there.
Yeah,
Like,
man, I'm anxious
well,
about this
I'm
shit.
scared, but here's what I know. If I don't go there, I have to see him at school tomorrow, knowing that I didn't go to the alley to fight him. So, like,
Yeah.
what do you do? And then,
You figure it out. And that's
okay.
but I think that's how I coach too, right? If you're not nervous, you're not anxious about your at bat, or you're not, like everyone said, yeah, just relax. Shit, she's throwing 70. I can't relax, right? Like, you shouldn't be relaxed. You should be anxious about this. It shouldn't matter to you. You should be nervous. But you know what we're going to do? I'm going to tell you what you really should be nervous if you haven't prepared for this. Have you prepared? Yes. Okay, we got a plan. Let's go to work. Let's go attack this problem.
Well, there's the takeaway from mental training or any type of training.
Mm-hmm.
When you are trained and prepared, you have a skill set.
Yeah.
You are trained for it. You're prepared for it. Then your saving grace is knowing that that's all I have to do is stick to my trade, regardless of the outcome that everybody's going to judge me on.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to judge you on outcome, first, second place, hit, no hit, whatever. Bro, in the end, do you think that football coach, that you played for with his career, like, cares whether you won a championship or not? He only cares the way you're teaching the game and the way your kids are playing the game. And then the bigger takeaway is the way your kids are coming away from the game. And so, yeah, you kind of think about what goes into that, and there can be a piece that's not so much in the adrenaline moment, but the piece of acceptance, because and maybe we kind of get into this about kind of some of how we've changed in coaching, right? And over the years, because when you're younger, I've mentioned this to you before, you're the combat soldier, right? Put me on the front lines and, let's go trench warfare. Like, let's get into it. But there's no 50-year-olds on the front line, and so that transformation and that opportunity to become wiser as the grays come in, right? Or the hair leaves, right? Because it's just, there's a natural progression to that. Mm-hmm. And I think that piece escapes a lot of people in softball, So what would you say? There's a couple of questions I want to ask you. First one is, like, I'm going to call it flip the switch. So for as long as I've known you and watched you go through your career and your experience, what year would you say the switch flipped when you came into what we would call like new age bombers, and it was the new kind of destructive brand, that just kind of did its thing? But what year and what things led to the flipping of the switch? Because all of a sudden it was almost like Thanos, Scotty. You guys were a different team. At least, like, I'm farther away from it. I'm not there in Texas competing it every year, right? So what would you say?
I've told this story before. One of the things too is sometimes you don't know the whole thing of you don't know what you don't know, right? We thought we were doing things right. And I've talked about how we're talking about we're talking about 2008, right? So think about where West Coast softball was in 2008. Think about the players. You would know what players were around, right. Y'all were dominating. The West Coast was dominating the sport in a way that was almost not fair. Like, we were all playing for second, no matter what we said. We were playing for second. In fact, we were probably playing for fourth, right? If we were lucky, because second and third were out there too, right? And we kind of knew it, but we didn't know what we didn't know. And so at that time, I thought, well, let's just work hard. If we just work hard, we'll be good. Like, if I work hard, then I'm deserving, right? It's not necessarily how it works. There's a path to get there, and there's mechanisms that have to be adjusted along the way. Yeah, that's a really fast car, but if we want to make it a race car, we got to do certain things to that really fast car to make it good and be able to compete. And so it was about 2009 when we had and I've told this story. We were pretty salty, and I don't know if you remember when Nationals was in Owensboro, Kentucky, And
Was that 16s?
16 nationals. There was like 800 teams there. Remember, it was like when ASA Gold would, ASA Nationals would have like 165 teams in the damn thing. And we qualified. We were pretty damn good. And Glenn Moore at Baylor's like, hey man, I'd like to do a team unofficial visit with your team. Bring your team out to Baylor. Let us show you around. Let's do an unofficial visit with the whole team. Well, it worked out. We did that on the way to Owensboro. We were all driving. This was like none of us flew. Like we were just driving to Owensboro, Kentucky, which was a shitty drive. Holy my goodness, that drive sucked. But he woke me up that day, man. Like we went to eat at a Chili's. We were sitting there, and he was up front of me. He goes, Scott, he goes, man, I love your team, man. He goes, but I can't recruit any of them. And I was like, wait, what? Like I thought we were a big deal. You got us here on this visit and all this other stuff. And I don't even know why, if he couldn't recruit him in my brain, like if you can't recruit him, why you bring us here? It was almost if he brought us there to tell me this, right? So I would change.
See that with Glenn.
Yeah, it was almost, that was almost how I look back on it. And he said, I can't recruit any of them. And I said, why? And he said, because you don't play against the kids I'm going to play against. Yeah, you aren't validating your players against the best players in the country, especially against the ones I'm going to have to beat to go to the World Series. And I was like, whoa. And I had to get in the vehicle and drive from Waco, Texas to Owensboro, Kentucky and have that shit in my head the whole time. And it was tough. And we were salty. We went up to Owensboro, Kentucky out of 165 teams. I think we got 17th that year. We were really, really good. I remember playing a game against Southern Force, Jerry's old team, because I think right then was about the time Jerry just left that team and he gave it to his daughter and he went to Georgia. And I'll never forget playing that game against Southern Force in a pool game, and I bet there was 100 coaches around the backstop. They weren't there to watch us. They were there to watch Southern Force. And we ended up winning the game 2-1. And it kind of put us on a little bit of a map, and it kind of made me think like, oh, if I played guys like this more often, this is going to be really good. And so I literally called back and told a bunch of our coaches, I said, listen, I'm going to get back on. Whenever we get knocked out, I'll be back next week on Wednesday. I want everybody to meet at, I think we met at like the Methodist Church or some shit. That's how big we were. We had like 15 teams at the time or something. And I said, I want everybody there. And I walked in a room and said, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're never playing Class B ever again. You have to qualify for Class A Nationals. You have to go to Nationals. And if you don't want to do that, there's a bunch of other places you can go play. If you want to be a Bomber, that's what we're going to do. And we made that move. And fast forward to the following year, we could have played 16 under again. We had one player on our team, a kid named Megan McKinney, who couldn't. And so we were just lucky to have Megan McKinney on our team. She was that good. And we decided to qualify for Gold Nationals. And that was the year that I played you in the stadium, that they changed the schedule and said, hey, you're going to play that night, that game where y'all, we ended up, maybe I think we were ahead like 2-0 into like the third or fourth, and then y'all turned it on like the fifth inning and just ran away from us. But what was wild about it was we went 2-0 in Gold Nationals. So we qualified. We were the first team from the San Antonio area to qualify for Gold Nationals in the history of fast pitch softball down in Texas. Nobody had ever qualified from San Antonio for Gold Nationals. And we did it almost as a 16U team outside one player. So when we go up there and we get 2-0, your game was the first loss in the bracket play or something. I don't know. That may have been a pool game, but we went 2-0. And I'm taking that walk where you're dragging your shit out on like Thursday and the tournament's going to go until Sunday. And that's a shitty walk if you're a coach. We all know what that
O2 barbecue walk.
That's a sucky walk, bro. And, we were coming off that field that's right behind the stadium field at Hall of Fame, the one that's over the back, not the nice one, and not the. So I'm walking up that little crescent hill, and Glenn Moore sitting on the edge there, trying to watch all the fields. And he said, Scott, he goes, you did it. You did what I said, Dad. He goes, dude, don't worry about this. Y'all are on the right path now.
You got in the battle.
I'll never forget that.
Nice.
I'll never forget that. And that was the moment for us when the flip the switch flipped. And I think people kind of recognize like, whoa, the Bombers are trying to be a little different. And so we were fresh, we were new. People kind of gravitated to us. And it, look back on it. The rest is history.
This, Scott. That's where the leader looked at that frontier and said, "This is where we're going.
We need to go fight these guys. This is the battle we've got to go fight." Yeah.
I love Glenn. So how about this one? A couple things since you brought him up. Did you know he played for King in his court?
I did. I do know that.
Did you know he was an ambidextrous pitcher?
I didn't know that. I did not.
Glenmore. I think he told me he was a 19. He was the youngest guy on that team. I remember him. I remember him telling me it this way. And his draw was he could pitch with both arms.
God, he's a big guy too, man.
Come on. I've never heard of anybody else that could fast pitch both arms.
No, it's hard enough to do with one arm. Yeah.
And then we can't mention Glenmore if you had a chance to get to know Mark Lumley. So that might take us into we talked a bit of this, but Mark Lumley was one of the greatest, gentlest, kind-hearted, great coach, came from Flowing Wells in Tucson, Arizona. Our first connection back in the 90s with Arizona players, Rebecca Quiroz, her dad, Mondo, Mark Lumley coached with them. They won there. Then he went on LSU and then to Baylor. But there's you and I were talking a little bit about how many people get into this sport by default, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter needed a coach or somebody asked you to coach or whatever. And then you fall in love with it and they give their whole lives to it. I mean, and when I say whole lives, it's not retiring at 55. You got 60s, 70s, and then Scotty, some of these coaches aren't there anymore. And we don't notice, right? We don't notice. It's like they give 30, 40 years, and it's not because they asked to be remembered. They've never, none of them did that for that. None of them did anything for a legacy or years of service. They did it because they love kids. But one of the things that always stuck with me is that I didn't think it was right for them to be not remembered.
Yeah.
Like, anyone listening to this knows an instructor or a coach or someone in your past that is no longer here. And the people that I think need to be thanked are their families. Because if you think about it, when you're in your 60s and 70s, still spending 30, 40 weekends at the ball field, you're not seeing your grandkids.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not seeing the people that you're in your last chapters. So then I've experienced that where we're at a funeral and you see the family and you realize, oh my God, they're kind of looking at us like we're the other woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the time served, and that's where I think it's important for them to know how much we cared about their coaches and their dad or their grandpa or something like that. But there's a list of people out there, and I would think, for anyone listening, don't think about that. How can you mention them in your post? Just a memory. Remember when this person said this or did that? Because that's how we kind of keep them going and stuff like that. But there's a long list of people that really deserve, and I'm not talking just about in our program. There's been a lot of them.
No, across Stoney down here in Texas. He passed away. He's incredible what he did for the state of Texas, for so many kids in recruiting, like just what he did. He passed away in 2024. And I think about when I walk into y'all's place and you've got those pictures of Norm and those guys up on the wall, and there's a handful of other guys on there as well. And I appreciate that about you, about you making sure that people don't forget, because we're just talking about how you spend a bunch of time with a bunch of 13, you're going to get sick. I mean, you could be a recluse and go play golf and not be around. Like, at the end of the day, like, the concept of giving, and I appreciate that about, I try to tell our coaches thank you, how much I appreciate them as much as I get a chance to. And that's the military in me. That's the NCO in me. That was my main, your number one mission when you're a non-commissioned officer in the military is your care and welfare of your soldiers. And so that's ingrained in me, but I truly mean it when I tell them I appreciate it. We don't have a program without you. Like, don't think for a second that this is because of me. This is because you've invested in that team, and she invests in that team, and we've got a bunch of people invest, and I'm proud of it. We've got about, and I saw the number the other day, and I try to keep track of the number. I think it was like 475 coaches that are Bombers, and I just love the fact that 475 people are willing to invest in our brand, in those kids, in their journey. I mean, it's just a big deal. And I think if you're a parent out there, tell them thanks every once in a while. You know, they do enough stupid shit that to warrant you getting upset. I get all that, but it wouldn't hurt every once in a while to say, man, I appreciate time you give, right? Like it's certainly they would appreciate it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of good points there. Recognizing your officers, we're usually in combat. So, and that we're not doing that during then. We're usually, I don't give up because we got to take this ridge. We got to take this game. I think it's important to pull back. And I would tell my mom, I go, Mom, when we go to a softball funeral, there's love in that church. There's people aren't there because they're obligated and they still are shit talking that guy.
Yeah.
They actually realized he had a family and this and that. And it was unfortunate what happened. And all of a sudden, I think this is a Dave King statement about fast pitch. It's the most loving, dysfunctional group of sports people, on earth, because we love each other, but yet we shit talk and there's this and that. And really I've talked about that altitude, right? When you're at that lower altitude, you don't realize that you're kind of consumed by your emotion, right?
Yeah.
And you're kind of consumed by the injustice of, there's so many injustices in softball. So just, I would ask people to take a minute to just kind of remember and maybe think of some families and, gosh, if a widow of a coach or a widower, just got a thing of flowers and say, hey, just let you know, we didn't forget your dad. We didn't, and I'm saying this to myself right now, knowing that, okay, we should periodically send something back to Lil, Norm's wife, and just say, we haven't forgot him. Cause we don't, we really try to incorporate the memories and also, and really honestly, the fun memories. I mean, the perception of us having team talks at our dugout. No, I had three guys in their 70s plus just talking about anything but softball during softball. That's what made it great.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that takes me to what our kind of theme of the podcast is today. Tony, you get to be king for a day. King for a day. And we're going to talk about the sport a little bit. But first off, I want to know from you, what do you think's good in our sport right now? What do you like?
That thousands of young girls want to play it.
Yeah.
Like they're not
it's
being
popular.
dragged.
Yeah.
That I watched the growth of the sport when you were talking about kind of the West Coast, right? Well, that was also the beginning of the parity of softball in college starting to go past UCLA and Arizona and start to go, Texas A&M gets to the finals. Like you started to see the growth of the sport go across the country. And so little by little, that parity started to come in. And I think that for me, the growth, people that want to be part of fast pitch and slow pitch, fast pitch and, softball. I think that's a great thing. Slow pitch is always going to have thousands of people and billions of people playing. But I think the growth, and the unrealized camaraderie, and I say unrealized because again, it too many times takes a funeral for people to realize that we spend more time with each other than we do our blood families, with the people we see on the weekends. But number one, the growth, and the delivery of the College World Series on television. Because I think every year it's like a damn movie that was scripted that I can't believe how these games are close and the way they're ending up. And to the last minute, the comebacks of this, the big players coming up big. I mean, bro, I get excited just thinking about it.
You know what's crazy is how not every sport can produce that sort of excitement, right? Like not every sport pulls that off. But I want you to think back how many College World Series don't have that. They have it every year because the sport does it. The athletes are so talented. The product on the field that those college coaches are producing it when they get to that place is so good. They're so well coached. All the stuff, the sport just produces that on them every year. Like it's like you can check it. We're going to have an amazing College World Series. It's not like, man, I hope the College World Series is exciting this year. It just doesn't work that way. And here's an example. There's been some March Madness games. I have been underwhelmed with the March Madness games this year, to be honest with you, right? And that's not
because
normally the case.
Not as many moments and type of games that are just
no Cinderellas. The Cinderella might be gone, right?
Right.
I mean, BYU was the Cinderella of this year. Like that's they've got to be careful with what they're doing right now. That's one thing College World Series doesn't produce is a Cinderella, right? You're not getting the final 8 that get to the College World Series. It's rare that you get I'm trying to think of the last Cinderella.
JMU?
JMU. Yes. The concept of JMU getting there probably I'm not trying to say no, but I don't want anybody to think here that I'm saying, hey, you could never get there. But with the transfer portal, which is another thing we can talk about whether that's good or bad, if you're a stud at JMU, you probably are transferred in today's.
Well, we're at that day and age,
Yeah, we're at that day and age. Yeah.
Duke getting there last year with Marissa Young starting the program at Duke, and
but
I
I
wouldn't
hold
call
them
them a
at such.
Cinderella. They were a great team.
Yeah, they're so talented, and she's such a good coach that I didn't look at that necessarily as a Cinderella. But yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Like we're not going to produce that feeling like you get in March Madness because there's 64 teams getting, and we get 64 teams also. But the to get to the College World Series is so difficult. It's tough. But what do you not like? What are some things you dislike?
I'll say this the right way, that there could be more respect shown for each other.
Yeah.
And I don't mean in like the face to face or, I'm there's always got to be an antithesis, right? Competitively, there's got to be
what does that word mean? Dude,
like a disruptive force.
I'm 11 Bravo.
Okay, here you go. There's got to be an Oakland Raiders. There's got to be a Darth Vader. There's got to be someone that people are rooting against for whatever reason, right? And there are people that we know. And there might be part of yours,
don't say crazy ass word shit like that.
I apologize, bro.
Okay,
I apologize. Sometimes it just slips out. Brashear teaches me these words sometimes. I try to pass them on. But really, it's we need that team, that person that we root against, but it shouldn't cost respect, right? I mean, I think we're in a day and age where I was just raised by a woman that said, think about how you talk about people and how you. Now talking at people sometimes in a moment, it doesn't excuse me. That's a little different, but I really try to not sit there and badmouth people and things like that because the third party in the equation are the kids, Scott. Like, when we as adults are fooling ourselves, especially like daughters of managers, right? Daughters of coaches, that's a really tough position to be in because they hear the phone calls. They hear what's being said about players. They hear what's being said about their dad or mom, and they have to exist in both those spaces, right? Because they can't be that they're alienated from the team. And so I think that there's this battle cry of all about the kids, and you shouldn't do this for the kids. But if we really looked at it, and it's partly from the wiring of this generation, right? They are more hypersensitive to things. Okay, I mean. I call it the word police, right? Like, no, you can't say it that way because that's gaslighting. But if you add this word, it's not gaslighting. I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Just shoot me in the head and you guys take the world from here because I'm trying to say it with a feeling. And now you're telling me what word I have to use. Yeah. So anyways, my point is that there's too many times where they're not okay. And they're not balanced with those normal butterflies and now what is called anxiety. And, the one thing that our young ladies have, because I remember the first time I heard the statistic of like 33% of female athletes in the NCAA were clinically diagnosed with depression or anxiety. And at first I was like, whoa, man, that's too many. But then what I realized is, no, now they have resources to go out and when they don't feel well. But that's the one thing, Scott, is I think that when you have encompassed by love and respect, you can get you can even get a whooping.
Yeah.
And you're not going to question and be damaged to the point, I get the old school stuff and what could have been better. But we were also told not to watch the TV so much. And we wouldn't be doing this right now here if we didn't have Johnny Carson or I tell people I'm just pretending when I do this shit,
No doubt. So how much have you had to change? How much have you had to change? You've been coaching a lot longer than I have. How much have you had to change who you are as a coach today? Because I get this, even my own daughter, right? She's like, Dad, dude, you're so different than when you coach me. Yeah, you're so different. Like, and I laugh because because the players are so different. It's a different time. As a coach, I had to evolve coaching today's athlete. If I didn't, it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work.
If you don't grow with the game, you're a typewriter.
Yeah.
You could be the nicest typewriter on the shelf right now. I ain't going to help you at all.
Yeah.
Right. So I think for me, the number one change I've made in my life was the influence that Coach Horton had on me playing for him in college. And that was so important for me because I understood the street respect of standing up and throwing down with whoever for whatever reason. And then realizing that really the best coaches in the game are extremely composed. They're very managed very well. And I saw the respect that Coach had. And this is only for my own. This is how important it was to me. 35 years, I've never been kicked out of a game. And I was the first one to throw down at 8 years old, 12 years old, 16. I mean, Coach Horton will tell you.
Why you gotta say that? Why you gotta say that?
Well, because it's how important it is to me. So when
I got you, I'm messing with you. I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah, because I don't hold other people to that, but I do call bullshit when people try to tell me that well, they justify something because of the call or this or that. I go, bro, if you think you're like more heated than I am, if you think you're more upset or more angry than I am in that moment, like you're missing the point. No, in fact, if we really opened ourselves up, we're probably pretty all equal. Right. Mm-hmm. But if we don't have an example of that, if I don't play for Coach Horton, I'll tell you what, I'm not talking to you right now. I'm probably out of softball in 2 years for my own temper, Yeah. So I think that was for me. And then with the kids, I've loved the challenge of changing the dialogue. So it does not make me feel good on the inside to know that, when Lauren Chamberlain told me that she would wake up on Sunday sick to her stomach, knowing that she was going to face me for 6 hours, and that basically I was going to take them up, and then I was going to drop them and tell them they couldn't beat me, right? And I would do that to the end of the year, and then I really wouldn't let them win until the week or two before nationals. So it was a grind, but I would tell them, if you're going to play the Batbusters, you don't understand. This is not like any other team. This is not like any other situation. You're coming up against more than just a game, and you have to know that you got the battle hardened and everything else. Now, last thing I'll leave you with is I remember a talk in maybe 2016 when I was coaching high school, and you have to watch the high school steps, right? Because it goes to the athletic director and this, and it's a different arena. And so kids were practicing, and man, it wasn't working for me. And I had all these Tanner type thoughts in my head. I'll tell you why we're losing Buttermaker. They just, there's that. And so I'm like, okay. And I know these kids are like, they're going home and they're talking to mom and dad. So I bring them on the field and I said, hey, I'm going to talk about flowers real quick. And they go, what? I go, okay, you guys hear me? I'm going to talk about flowers. What am I going to talk about? They'll go, flowers. I go, okay, great. Now we know it. I don't like pansies. Pansies are a flower. And in fact, Coach Tony, I hate pansies. In fact, don't ever bring me a pansy. Make sure that you never put a pansy on this field, because if I see a pansy on this field, I'm going to rip it out and I'm just going to throw it on the side, because I can't deal with pansies in softball. And so just do me a favor, like just remember that when you're talking about flowers. And somewhere there's this energy, right? Two girls in the back, right? I just see their mind processing. Scott, I'm telling you the honest God truth, and this is why I still enjoy the challenge of the word play, the word police. She looks at her teammate and said, he did say flowers. Like, she looked at me, she goes, he did say flowers. So he's not calling us pansies. And I was like, oh shit. And I'm waiting for a call from Coach Jeff or something. Nothing. Now, I didn't keep doing that and messing with that, but that's basically how, okay, let's not think about what I want to say. Let's think about the best way to say it.
Yeah.
So it's not what I want to get across to you or what I want you to eat. How can I serve this to you? Make it look like a cupcake, and then I shove broccoli inside of it, because, you don't really want broccoli. So I'd say for me that's it. And it's always a challenge because I'm always battling my innate self. I'm still a 12-year-old immature little baby on the inside.
Yeah. It's crazy because, and these aren't excuses. This is just a byproduct of your environment, which I think is life. Like, you surround yourself with successful people, you get a pretty good chance to be successful. You surround yourself with people who are getting into trouble, you get a real good chance to get in trouble. For the major majority of my life, I was surrounded with war fighters, right? The key term being fighter. And so coaching, to me, my natural instinct was to fight for the injustice. right? Fight to protect. And when an umpire would make a bad call or something wouldn't go my way, well, my natural instinct was to lean towards the fight. And when you're immature, when you're younger, you can't, everything just goes red. Like I couldn't distinguish, this is not the right moment. This is not the fight you need to fight. This is not worth the outcome. Okay, so you get him to say you didn't leave early. I mean, you're over here arguing with him that they called you out for leaving early. He's not going to change it. So why are you arguing about it? Right? Like I didn't see that. Like he's not going to go, oh, okay, whoa, you're right. My fault.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Like I didn't see that. I just wanted to fight because you screwed me. Right. And I have proof. It still don't matter. He's not going to change it. Right. And there was time in there where I couldn't even see that. I just couldn't see it.
Right.
And
Right.
I was so fixated that the way for us to win was to outfight you. And that included me.
That's called
Right?
grit, though. There's a good part of that.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's also called stupidity in certain moments.
When it's
right?
unmanaged, right?
Yeah, like it really is. And so I'll use last year. We're fortunate. We win it all. I didn't get thrown out one time. I was still just as gritty. I was just super tactical.
You were different, Scott. You were different.
Yeah, man.
in a very
I
good
felt
way.
like I
Very
was,
proud
but
of
that
you.
was thank you, man. I appreciate it. But it was by design, and it's watching guys like you. And I said things that normally would have gotten me thrown out. I said them different. I said them more calculated.
Yeah.
Right? I said them with me having my lineup card out, standing there talking about how shitty the strike zone was instead of yelling it
Exactly.
from the dugout. You know? And
Two different registers right there.
yeah. And it took me time to figure out. Now, part of that is growth and age and all those other things, changing as a coach. But some of it is my surroundings. I don't operate in a warfighter environment every day of my life, right? I'm able to slow my processes down and relax a little bit. And it helped that I have really talented, not that I didn't before, but I have really talented coaches that can center me a little bit, and things I would have to focus on before I don't necessarily have to focus on now, and those kind of things. And I give a lot of credit to my players too. Like my players enabled me to center myself a little bit, you know.
But
And
don't you think a big takeaway is that when you can be inspired to change as opposed to being forced to change?
yeah,
You know?
or you're changing and you don't know what's happening. Like your
By
actions.
influence, maybe.
Yeah, your actions dictate that versus trying to say, well, I'm not going to do this today. Right. And then something triggers you into doing those things. I would become triggered, right, by certain.
No.
And part of that was the Army in me, because being substandard at anything is not okay. So you being substandard at putting your freaking weapon back together or cleaning your weapon is not happening. Take the freaking weapon, go clean the shit, get it right, bring it back. And you're going to do that until I decide. And if we have to, we'll sit here till my ID card sweats, right? You're going to get the thing right. Well, I don't get to tell umpires that. Now, that don't mean my brain's not thinking that. Like, dude, how are you missing a catcher catching a ball in the other batter's box? You're calling a strike. Like, get your shit together. Like, I don't get to tell him that. We're not in the Army. And even though it's in my head. So that growth. And so it's funny when people say my players, former players see me now, I'm like, bro, you changed. I have. I know I
I
have.
hope so.
And the things I cared about that are details have not changed. That ain't changed. My standards haven't changed. How I hold players to the standard might have changed. How I hold umpires to a standard might have changed. How I hold myself to standards might have changed, but the standards haven't changed. This is how I go through that process.
Absolutely not. Your standards actually can increase. They can become higher, but your processing of it. So let's look at like how many coaches might be listening that you haven't figured out how to get an appeal play yet, because the first thing you do is you're triggered and then you yell from the dugout and then you start walking out there. That umpire is already looking at you going, no, I'm not going to check with my partner.
Yeah.
Right. And when you take that learned approach of like, look, Bob, we know you got the call right. Okay. Is it okay if we just confirm with your partner that you got the call right?
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. But that is walking out there calmly and not right away confronting. I remember I heard this from a guy that was a manager of I don't know how many employees, a couple states. And I said, man, you're always so calm. How are you so calm? And he goes, I deal with confrontation on a daily basis. And he goes, you do not confront confrontation. And I was like, ooh, gold nugget. Like that made a lot of sense. So that confrontational moment of the bad call or you missed the call or whatever. But if you go out with you missed that call, and they're people. Like the whole thing is like we see the blue, but they're people. So if you approach them, I actually had in the stadium, and I was going to say earlier, I was glad you got to go to nationals in Oklahoma because there were only 4 years that 18U Gold Nationals was at Oklahoma. So we actually got to play in the stadium, at nationals. That was pretty cool. And then we did it with the Alliance a few years ago. But I had an umpire.
Place.
I had an umpire in a game at a nationals game against the Gold Coast Hurricanes, which was one of the major powerhouses. Marty Cooper, man, they would come in and he would just say, we're going to kick your ass today. And he said this before we played him in the stadium. We're going to show somebody how to play championship softball. He was saying this to his team, but he was saying it to me, right?
Yeah.
Because we were just kind of getting there. But I had an umpire walk up to me after there was an overthrow and the ball had hit the facing of the dugout, the third base dugout in the stadium. And I didn't even think twice about it, but it should have been called out of play, but he didn't, right? And so we ended up with a runner on third. So he comes to me before the next play, and he says, Coach Tony, I've got to tell you something. I said, what? And he goes, I blew that call. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I'm just telling you. He goes, I apologize. He goes, that ball hit that facing. I should have called dead ball. That runner should have scored, and that runner should be there. And the way that he looked at me was in such a like, Mom, I lost that money you gave me, and I had empathy for the guy. So I looked at him, I said, hey, I tell you what, man, I just appreciate that you told me that. And if it's meant to be and we win this game, great. And it's heated, man. I think it was 8th inning, something like that. And then Lauren Schutzler comes up and chips a little soft slap over the shortstop's head, and we win that game. And that umpire looked at me after the game like we bonded. We probably never saw each other after that. But he's like, you could have roasted me. You could have this. And I just like, you know what? You just have to, in that moment when everything's turning red, well, that's the whole thing is who's got the calmest mind?
Yeah.
Who's got the Kobe Bryant processing? Like that's the stuff that we're talking about. So, but back to King for a day, you're talking about likes and dislikes. Where are you going with this?
What would you change? You're king for the day. What would you change? Now, keep this about the on the field part, the softball part. What would you change?
So
you're
number
king
one,
for the day. You get to make a new adjustment.
Let the pitchers do what they want to do with their body, and let the slappers do what they want to do in the box. There isn't anybody doing anything that's giving that. We know when somebody's like creating an advantage for themselves. We can tell when there's a shaved bat because the kid's one-arming a ball over the fence on a low outside 2-strike pitch, right? Like we know to the eyes when something's not right. And when what I've learned about the men's game and kind of seeing what the men can do, you want to talk about I don't know if this is a class action suit, but we put all these rules around these girls. Couldn't leave the air. You could do these things, and we're just starting to. It's interesting how it works, but I would unrestrict slappers. I would let girls, and I know that we can get some air now, but it's still kind of a tough subject to talk about. And so I would say that, without going back to the behavior stuff, and then education. I think education should be mandated for parents and coaches, just enough so that how can we expect to professionally support kids when we're not professionally trained, and so I think that, but slappers and pitchers, cut them loose, man. Let them go. What about you?
It's good. You know what I do is I get rid of the river. Like baseball doesn't have a river. It has to be on the white to be a strike. Like what we've allowed in our sport is the strike zone to be defined from umpire to umpire, depending on how much of the river they're willing to expand the plate. And that makes it super hard for hitters to be consistent, to train to know how to hunt. It changes mechanics. It changes 1,000 things. You watch a Major League Baseball game. Do umpires miss strikes? Yeah. It rarely does it get expanded. They may miss. You'll see those umpire reports come out after a game. There's a Twitter page of it, and they'll post their scorecards. And their misses are so minuscule because they don't have to guess whether something's a strike or not. If it, in their mind, is it on the white? Is it on the plate, or is it not? They'll miss up and down a little bit. They very rarely do they miss east-west, right? Like, it's just, they don't miss very many. You'll see a pitch thrown in a game and it's just borderline off the plate and they call it a ball because they're so talented at sticking to the strike zone and it doesn't move from one umpire to the next. In our sport, who's behind the plate, how wide they're willing to let the plate become is a constant adjustment for hitters.
Do you
I think hitters
that's more realistic for the highest level of play?
Yeah, but I think Little League Baseball umpires are still wide as hell. You'll see the videos of it.
But let's go so the game does breathe. Okay. The game breathes right now, even with what we're allowing people to do. There's a certain parameters or certain space where the game is the game and we can tell, right?
Yeah.
However the pace it is. And if you and I are umpiring a 14 under game, and there's a couple things, right? The level's a little different,
Sure.
right? And I would suggest to umpires, go to both coaches and go, hey, I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna open this up because of what I see with your pitchers, right? If I have this major league strike zone right now, we're all going to be watching a lot of balls being thrown that could be strikes. And then obviously, to the other side, when you've got someone throwing 68 and you're giving her a ball and a half off, I mean, this was to Natasha's point, right? Like, how am I going to get Monica Abbott's curveball when you're giving it to her?
Yeah.
So I do agree with what you're saying. I also believe it has to be applied to the right environments that ultimately lead to the highest level.
Yeah.
Because you have the most precision and the most command with your pitches, right? I mean, you've heard this before. A major league hitter doesn't want to face a single A guy throwing 99 because he doesn't know where it's going. Give me the major league guy because he's established command, right? Yeah. For the most part, more so than those other ones. And so you can actually play chess on where this next pitch is more likely than not going to be, right? So, but I hear you on the unfairness of when it breathes too much in the wrong direction.
Well, the part I'm talking about is the highest level because obviously the experience and skill level of the umpire in Little League isn't. Nobody's expectations are that you a clean strike zone and all those things. I'm talking about just in general how hitters should be able to train for balls on the white. Yeah. And the expansion of the plate varies from umpire to umpire. And it's going to be really interesting to see what the sport does in baseball when they go to the automated strike zone, which that's coming. They're already doing the challenge. They did the challenge system in spring training this year. Right. And I think the automated balls and strikes, it wouldn't shock me if next year that's in place. And if it ain't next year, it's the following year. And that's because those strikes, it just turns hitting into hitting, right? And it's really, what are you doing with pitching and how are you mixing and all those different things? But catchers stealing strikes and all, there's a craft to that. I think that's a cool part of the game. But if I was king for a day, the strike zone would be the strike zone.
I hear that. Well, you look at the major league level. Look at how many pitchers are throwing over 100 miles an hour now. So and even if you're at a younger level where pitchers are developing, I'm still going to encourage my hitters to understand what a middle mistake is, right? So we're not going to expand it because the umpire's expanding it or because she's getting that call. We're still going to be diligent to our strike zone. I think that's pretty important. Well, and we're going to talk about this next. We talked about this one being the episode where we're going to really get deep into hitting, but we're going to do it next one. It's a done deal. But because we're gonna have a special guest with us, and we'll share that up a little bit.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Hey, I want to show everyone real quick why I got, in fact, I got a text yesterday. What do you do when the umpire is calling these pitches strikes, right? So I'm going to use my microphone. Now I'm going to explain something. I'm not going to excuse that it's happening, okay? But this is what I found, and this is how I've always worked with our catchers, and I'm going to give away a little trade secret. It's how the catcher receives the ball that creates framework to the eyes of the umpire. Now, I'm telling you, any umpires that are listening, they're going to go, Rico, like, we don't do that because the umpire talk is a different talk, right? But I'm going to go, guys and ladies, I've watched you for 30 years. I've set my catchers up. So if this microphone, right, is the tip of where I'm receiving the ball, okay? So where I'm receiving the ball, I don't want to move from my mic. So if I catch this ball in the center of my body so that it's like the tip of the triangle, like that, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I could be in the other batter's box and catch it like that. Even turn my body a little bit, and I'm going to get a strike call.
Yep.
Because there is, for me, there is something about the umpire overlooking the catcher and seeing that framework that it's coming to, like I always call the center mass, right? Now I take that same pitch and I catch it like this. This is a completely different visual presentation. Now this pitch could even be on the corner, but I'm not centering it in my body. So if you just look at where the catch, it's like getting people to watch the catcher's glove on when there's a particular hit, right? Everyone looks at the swing where the ball goes, but rarely do people notice whether that ball was an actual middle. Someone was showing me a video on these high exit speeds from Oklahoma, right? And I told him, I said, listen, here's what a cocky 80 ball player is going to be. We didn't use metrics to learn how to hit. We learned how to hit, and then you looked at our metrics, right? And so what stands out to me is when you're looking at 108 mile an hour exit speed, she's not hitting the ball at her ankles. And she's not, those were all dead red middle mistakes. Like those are the balls you're going to hit the hardest, right? And we can get this is really your area of like, we get into the numbers and stuff. But I want to throw that out to people because a lot of times it's not an illusion, but it is a visual kind of presentation of the pitch. And so how they receive the ball in the center of this triangle, which even how that changes a little bit with a lot of one knee catching. I'm going to tell you, Scott, that's always held true for all the years that I've coached. And I always tell catchers, and she'll look at me and go, we just got that call in the other box. I go, yeah, but look where you set up. You hopped out there and you centered it. And yeah, but what are we going to tell the other team? Like, sorry? Or sorry? You're right. Yeah, we're going to get that pitch.
It's really good that you highlighted that because that's a technique of getting pitches. Goes back to what I said before, though. If it's on the white, you can't do that. You can't be over there and get a pitch that's supposed to be on the white for the most part. That's why you don't see MLB catchers move that much. That's why
it's slight. It's very slight.
Yes. Guess what? That's why they can go to one knee. So we have softball catchers going to one knee, but an MLB catcher can go to one knee because they're living in a 17-inch space, right? Like if they have to get outside their 17-inch space, that's a big miss for a major league pitcher. For our kids, they're sliding out, getting in one knee. If they miss over here, that's a pass ball, right? Because they're trying to get a part of the plate or a strike in an area that's not near home plate, right? And we'll get into a deeper deal how umpires allowing pitches to be, and this is not a slight on umpires. I'm saying in general, this is not deemed any one person, but when balls are allowed to be in the river, a ball off, God forbid, a 2-ball off or a ball and a half, what we're doing is we're creating hitters that stand on top of the plate to protect a pitch. It's not even a strike, right? So when the pitcher does miss middle, they can't do anything with it because they don't have any space. That's the example. You don't see major league hitters standing on top of the dish, worried about protecting in the river over there.
Right.
Their plate coverage is their plate coverage. And it has to do with their direction and all the other stuff. But we're creating, and I tell umpires this all the time. You don't like, and this is my technique for reminding them to stop calling stupid shit, right? But you do realize as big a job as it is for me to get these kids ready to play in the SEC or the PAC or wherever it is, the level they're about to go play at, it's just a bigger job for you. They need to know what a strike looks like. Stop painting a picture that's a strike. Because when they get to the SEC, that ain't no damn strike. and you got him down here swinging at that. Like, get better, bro.
You know what's
And then
funny,
they're
Scott,
like,
is I'm thinking we've got a former two-time All-American Conference Player of the Year alumni who's now she's dabbled in the umpiring world, and she's really good because she knows the umpiring rules inside out now. Like that, she's lived in that world, but she's also lived exactly what you're talking about. I'm trying to get pitches right, and so when she puts on her umpiring hat, she could, in her own way, because she's very good as a wordsmith, right? She could give you a hell of an argument. Well, you need to, and that's where it's kind of fun because I don't like, the and then you guys, and then
Yeah.
they're really, you got two people talking but they're not hearing each other, because umpire world and coaching world, those are two different
Yeah.
worlds, right? But I love when we can kind of little bit into each other's space, and then she'll come in with, and then kind of point out, and you just want to tell your, but she has the experience of being a catcher and a two-time All-American hitter, 32 home runs her last 2 years in college.
Yeah.
And so she gets that, but yet now she's put on this blue shirt. And I'm like, oh, dang, you went to the other side. But it is interesting to hear her, because now she's so knowledgeable with the umpiring aspect of things, and especially the NCAA stuff and that
Yeah.
whole, I've got a little more insight into some of that stuff. But that's,
They got a hard
again, but
job, too.
That's also part of the game. So
Yeah.
with wherever it's going, they automate things, stuff like that. But that's always been a part of the game, because part of that is relations, communication, and then the breathability of the game. As long as it's not breathing to a point where it's like, what the hell's going on here? I don't want to watch
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah.
The bottom line is,
Yeah.
let's be entertaining about it, right?
Sports in a good place, though, man. So you and I are
Absolutely.
running a little bit out of time. Or we were going to talk about a few other things. We'll save these things. I'll make notes here. We'll save these things. We got to pick some games, some series.
Yep.
I got some series for you.
We're
So you're-
gonna review last week or no?
Man, I'm just looking from a damn sheet. I think I got more of them right than you.
I missed I missed one. It was one of the last ones we talked about.
We picked. You chose. Which one was it that you got wrong? You chose Florida over Texas, and I chose Texas over Florida.
Yeah.
That was a tough one to choose. Pick
Damn.
anyway. That was tough. All right, these won't be easy. I have 3 series here. LSU versus South Carolina, and LSU's on the road.
They're putting up some nums. I haven't seen her. Beth, if you're listening, I'd love a text back. But you know what? As soon as I say that, people are going, "Shut up, Rico! You don't text anybody back." I'm gonna, just on a hunch, go with LSU.
Yeah.
Because of when I look at their numbers, something's dialed in. I can't say from watching them play so much.
They're fast, bro.
And
They're
then I
fast.
believe that what I've watched from South Carolina, they've got one good arm that keeps them in games, right? And so we're getting kind of a little farther in the season. These are just factors.
Yeah.
So I'll go with Beth and LSU.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. Plus, there's about 18 Bombers
Two out-
on that
two out of
team,
three.
so yeah.
Hey,
There's,
listen. Disclaimer on all of these, so you stop kissing ass every time we do this, right? It's just disclaimer. We're just talking
we
games.
don't mean anything
just
by it
talking
if we
games.
choose. Yes,
Yeah.
Whiz.
It's not like you're going to answer
but-
their text anyways.
But that LSU team can fly. Like that's going to be their ticket. They can really run, and I think in the past they've been fast, but they've had a bigger power. And they're hitting home runs, but they can really swing it. Georgia on the road at Alabama. Yeah. Alabama coming off losing 2 or 3 to A&M last week.
I don't think that Georgia has hit its peak yet. I do know a little bit about their pitching. And whether Pat is at the top of their game or not, you want to talk about a battle-hardened son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
In Tuscaloosa?
At Alabama. Having lost the series last week.
I know. So I'll go. So is it, what's the odds that they're going to lose 2 series unless they're like this? And I don't watch it close enough to know if they're on a decline. I'll go Alabama. Home
Okay,
field,
you're going
home field.
Alabama. I'm going to take Georgia on the road.
Okay.
Georgia on the road. I think what Tony and them got going there, I think they're just starting to the machine's starting to really, really go a little bit. I think they played Tennessee last week. I can't remember. Did they win the series or lose? I should have known that. They may have won the series last week, but Georgia's playing well. This is the big one. This is the last one to pick. It'll be interesting to see Tennessee at Oklahoma.
Ooh. So the first question I have is,
you dropped its first conference game last week. So they do bleed.
Then they had a football score in another game this week.
Yeah.
So there you go, right?
Yep.
And my question would be, again, I just don't watch enough full games to know the depth of Tennessee's offense. I know a couple of their key players.
Mm-hmm.
In Oklahoma, you said?
Yeah, at Oklahoma. I personally think this is Tennessee's pitching versus Oklahoma's offense. Because I think Tennessee probably has the advantage in the circle. OU might have the advantage offensively. So this is literally two opposing forces.
And I think a X factor there is I believe that JT knows how to prepare for any pitcher. He's proven that.
He's damn sure proven that.
So now can this group and again, and they've got just a few kids I know of that are extremely. I'll go 2-1 Oklahoma.
You're going to take Oklahoma. And I think just to be fun and interesting, I'm going to take Tennessee. I think this may be the first series that OU drops. And I only say that because I'm questioning, is their pitching in the circle durable enough to go these series after another? And does it ultimately catch up to them? And I think Tennessee has an advantage in the circle. So I think these will be, for my mind, I feel like they'll be relatively low-scoring games. So I think it's going to be a pitching decision that's going to ultimately decide what this looks like.
Yeah,
but
they're pitching against Tennessee's offense.
Yeah.
But then you have to throw in Patty's managing,
Oh, yeah.
The way
They're both great coaches, and they're both have them ready. It's going to be a fun series to watch.
I feel like I would kick myself if I picked Tennessee and then Patty wins 2 again and looks at you like, what are you doing, man?
You're crazy.
She'll
probably
fourth and fifth, and I keep trying to tell you,
I
didn't get handed a championship team. I built a championship team, so I understand what it takes.
They're good. I'm only choosing this based on I think they're going to be low-scoring games for the most part, and I think it'll be who pitches best. And I just think for whatever reason, this may be the hiccup in the road. But OU at home, it's tough.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I love, SEC conference play is like
it's tough, man.
And I'll tell you what, props to the ACC, where that conference was and what that is now. Man, you got some depth. And what do you hear for SEC is? I think Walton said it's like, well, you just add 2 teams like Texas and Oklahoma, and things just got a little more interesting, right?
You just added the 2 teams that played for the national championship in your conference. Yeah, it's nuts.
What a great day for softball, Scotty.
All right, buddy. One big thing. What you got?
One big thing. Don't forget your unsung heroes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna throw one out to you, and then think of someone in your operation, someone that is a grinder, and I'm thinking staff-wise, coaches, admin, someone that doesn't get a lot of the limelight there every day, every bit is part of the operation. Often for me, the name that I'm going to give, if you really kind of listen, you probably tell me, God, man, quit picking on the guy, would you? But it's that old school, just I give him shit all the time. But I'm going to go with Kenny McMeechin. Good old Kenny with our program.
Kenny might right now. He might be painting the door.
Late 80s with Coach Norm, coached with the Panthers for a lot of years.
Yeah. He might be painting the door over at that shop for you right now, refilling the water cooler. He doing all kind of shit.
If you ever see my key ring, it's the only thing that I wanted to grow bigger than Kenny's. That he walked around, he's always got a set of keys on his belt, and so I've got about 35 keys on mine. I don't even use most of them. But Kenny is one of the most. Nobody loves people more than Kenny. He's an operations daily routine grinder guy.
Yeah.
And, I just can't say enough about how much he means to our program, how much I love him. And he needs to hear me say this on the air, because I'm usually just giving him crap on a daily basis because he didn't change the battery in the Ring camera or something like that. But, he's my man. He's my go-to. So who's an unsung hero in your operation, in your circle?
Well, I kudos to you shouting out Kenny, because Kenny's the guy that you go.
I feel like I'm losing you a little bit, the connection or something.
Is our connection jacked up? Let's see what here.
Wait, say it again.
Can you hear me good?
Goddamn shitty connection, Scott. You got to pay for a little upgrade your internet. Just turned us into the Tony Rico show. Let's see if he comes back, everybody. 5, 4, 3.
There we are.
2.
You there?
1.
Can you hear me?
And we're not able to display the camera and mic. I think this will actually be edited.
It will.
But if not, don't forget your unsung heroes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Who have you not thanked?
Can you hear me?
Sometimes it's harder to thank those people that want to be thanked all the time, and they're mad because you haven't thanked them. So sometimes we make them wait a little bit longer.
What the hell is going on here?
Damn, Scott, I feel like we were throwing a no-no with 2 outs in the 7th.
Jeez, technology, man.
And then you fucked up.
I did. I talked about the no-no. Dude, I don't know what happened. We lost internet. We're going to edit this thing. You're going to see some technology wizardry when we put this thing together. We never said, hey, here's what we did say. We never said it was going to be perfect.
Hey, we're just examples of 2 guys that probably shouldn't be doing this. Just like
2 softball coaches.
A couple people out there, but. All right, so last topic was I mentioned unsung heroes, right? Like who are the unsung heroes? People that are there every day, people that get stuff done every day, do stuff for us and make us look better than we really are every day, never ask for anything every day. And in the end, people really don't know the significance of them. And so I'm going to start with our boy Kenny. Kenny McMeechin has been around the game for 30 plus years. He's kind of Norm's honorary son. But where would we be without Kenny? Man, we'd have a lot less love in our program. There'd be a lot less light bulbs and batteries changed in our facility. And he's one of the most amazing men in softball. And anybody that knows Kenny just knows
he's painting a door at your place right now.
He's sitting at home right now, as Norm would say, in his hockey helmet, watching a replay of a hockey game. And then later on today, he'll probably. Oh, yeah, he's from Buffalo. Guy? He's from upstate New York. Oh yeah, he's a real hockey puck. Kenny McMeechin's my boy. Love him.
Yeah, that's such a good person to say that, because you know what he is? He's the guy when you go, I got a guy. He's the I got a guy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody says,
I need something. Go open up for you. I got a guy that can go do this for you. I got a guy that's going to go to all your games. I got a guy that's going to go. I got a guy.
Yep. When you got a guy, those are good son bitches.
Kenny, I know I don't say it enough to you, but you the man. I love you, but don't expect this when I see you next. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to say, dude, I need a raise.
I just want him one time to fire back at me, but he does it. He just nods his head up like, come on, man, fire back.
He's cooler than the other side of the pillow, man. Like, that's just no doubt. He's cool as shit.
He's the deal.
No, I love me some Kenny. For us, dude, it's an easy one for me, man. It's Bo Vinton. That's my dog.
Oh.
Yep, he's rolled with me from the very beginning, and I get a lot of credit for a lot of shit, and I always have to immediately go, nope, that's Bo. Bo did that. Bo did that.
Bo knows.
Bo knows softball, and he takes care of all of the administrative functions of this, and I get to go figure out how to do some softball stuff and talk on the internet and shit. So.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but we pick his brain every now and then when we need to. So
Bo's good people, man. He knows his shit.
You're lucky, man.
I'm blessed to have him, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Deal. Well, that's just a couple. There's many more to mention. Maybe we'll do that every week too. Is the people we need to make sure we're putting out there that don't ask for it, but they deserve it, right?
Yeah, we should absolutely do it.
Yeah.
All right,
brother.
My one big thing: boom boxes at softball tournaments. What? dude, I'm coaching that 8th grade spring team we got with Christy Malpass. I didn't even know this was a thing at 14U. Like, I knew it happened at 10s and 12s. This shit is migrating into 14U. And you and I have to maybe put our foot down if it starts getting into 16U and 18U. But, bro, I'm not exaggerating. Dude, we played against a team that had a boombox that was 5 foot tall. The speaker was 5 foot tall. You understand that? Like, how big that speaker was? How loud that sumbitch was? Hey, they had professionally edited walk-up songs, like a voice of like the Dallas Cowboys or the San Antonio, now batting number. Like, this was 14-year-old, bro. And the problem was, Tony, on the very next field to us, they had the same thing. So they're drowning each other out. Like, they're mad that their boombox is louder than their boombox, or their music in between the innings is louder than their music between the. You couldn't hear shit. And like I said, I liked the music part, but I wasn't 100% sure if I hated it. But it was out of control, and I had no idea it was happening at 14. That's my one big thing. Like, I need people on our social media to tell me, is this a thing now? Am I wrong? Am I too old to appreciate this now? Like, what is that? Like, where do you sit on that?
That's almost another topic that we need to get into, is the blurred, distorted lines of we shouldn't and can't say certain words, but then I'm just kind of, checking on Instagram and this, and teenage girls, the songs that I'm sure the song says something about shake that ass, or
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I'm like, bro, like, and this is just normal to it, right? I'm like, it just kind of, so yeah, that whole world of music, but who knows how big the boom boxes can get, Scotty? That might be
this one was
a business venture.
No, it was, and they had it. And the damn thing was
that
so
is
damn
one
big.
big thing.
Yeah, it's one big thing. This boom box was so big, they had to have it like halfway to the outfield, right? It wasn't even by their dugout, and
Wait till the bleachers are shaking.
Oh my God, dude, it was nuts to me. I was taken back. I'm still confused by it. Like I said, I'm not 100% on board that I hate it. The whole choreographed walk-up songs with the professional announcer, like, I was like, come on, man. Like, just get in the box and let's hit. Let's go.
It's so easy to agree with it. I'm going to say, in that concept of sports entertainment where it creates the environment and this and that. I remember when I came over from baseball, the girls were cheering, and I turn around after a pitch. I want to say something about the pitch, and there goes a cheer, right? And I was like, damn, they're cheering. And then there's another pitch. Something just happened on that one. I still want to talk about the pitch before I turn around. I wait for him to stop. I turn around, and man, then another one starts, another cheer. I'm like, dude, you didn't even give me like a half a second to get in. Now I'm 3 cheers into this, but 5 pitches into this, and I'm going, you guys ain't seeing shit. All I know is you want her to rip it up the middle or whatever.
Yeah. Bro, I get so mad. I coach at team at Texas Lutheran, and I do the hitting stuff, and I'm in the dugout, and I've picked the change, and I'm trying to cue the hitter. The change is coming, and they're freaking singing it. And I'm having trouble. Y'all shut up. Yeah, like, I'm trying to cue the hitter. The change is coming, and y'all are over here yelling about her socks, and like, no, man.
It's the mesh of two worlds, Scotty, but there it is. Those are our big things for the week.
It's big things. I don't know how big they are, but they're dang sure big to us, and
all part of our world.
Yeah, we appreciate that you guys put up with our technical difficulties. We'll get this thing stitched together. It'll have a little bump in the road, but you really won't know it. So
my 5 friends are enjoying us so far, so we'll keep it
3.
rolling.
Yeah. The 3 people I call friend, they like
at the very least, bro, like, if we're 12 years old, we're just entertaining ourselves, like playing podcasts. So if we got one person listening, we're good.
Yeah, no, we appreciate all of you that do listen and share with us how much you enjoy it, because we damn sure enjoy it. And at a very minimum, this is
good talking with you, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna say at a very minimum, I get to every 2 weeks talk to Tony Rico for about an hour and a half. And that unto itself is cool. So it's good.
Yeah. Don't forget to appreciate your friends out there, people. You've got them out there. And you don't have to spend time just telling them what you're upset about and, what your daughter's going through. Just call people and shoot the shit. Ask them how they're doing.
That's it.
Talk about something else.
Tony,
All right?
we're about 60 days away from being on a softball field with our teams. Dude, it'll be here in a blink. Blank. Are you ready? Are you in shape? Like, do you have to get in softball shape? I have to get in softball shape.
Man, if I can get this arm kind of like, well, I haven't been able to do the fungo stuff, like I really want to. That's probably the only thing. It's more getting prepared. We don't really have, maybe the hot weather hits us a little bit in Indiana. We've been pretty lucky so far, with that. But it's more preparation for what we have to go through.
Dude, it's my feet. When I'm on my feet all day long.
I found those Hoka shoes. Anyone out there wearing the Hokas? Because I would think, what are those big ass things? But man, I'll tell you, the feet in the back, bro, like I'm telling you, I've tried everything. I used to like the Nike Shocks before they weren't so shock observant. Anyone chime in on the comments or something if you wear Hokas and they're good for your feet or back.
Here's what I want people to give us. I'll put a poll up there. I'll get a poll put up on the social media stuff, just like we did the Mexican food where Tex-Mex whoop Cali Mexican food's ass. Here's the deal. I don't wear Hokas because they make you look a little older, right? Like old people wear Hokas. You know what I wear?
You're old, bro.
I know this, but I can fight it. And let me tell you this. You know which ones I wear? On Clouds. Dude.
So I have those, okay?
Those are so good.
I got to fire back, though. There's one or two styles of Hokas that don't look like geriatric shoes. Right, so there because Juliana, right? She's a awesome young woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a pair of Hokes. I've got one. It's black, white sole, all black, nothing too crazy. Doesn't look like
you're
I'm
a black shoe guy. I'm a white shoe guy.
You could find them. Well, you know what? We'll send you a pair. What size shoe you wear?
Nah, you don't send me no Hokas, dog. I ain't wearing them.
Bro, what size shoe do you wear?
I wear size 9.
All right.
Dude, on Cloud, I've gotten on board. I'm a fan.
But you're talking about your feet not hurting.
Yeah, but
I've got the On Clouds because I was excited about it. Nothing against the On Clouds. They look good. I see them all everywhere. So I got a pair, right? I'm like, okay, people are wearing those. Dude, the instant. It's all about the when your heel hits. That cushion that goes up to your back. So any third base coaches out there that are standing all day long, what are you guys wearing? What are you girls wearing? What are you people wearing to get you through the day? Because man, God forbid a 5-game losers bracket day.
Yeah.
And you got to be moving around. So maybe we'll talk about like managing our age as we continue to coach and what it takes to.
I'm serious when I say this. It takes me a tournament and a half or so, and then I hit my stride, and then I'm straight all summer long. I'm good.
Yeah.
But the beginning, the beer don't taste as good afterwards. My feet are hurting and shit. And,
and the team kind of coming back from high school, and it takes that. It's usually Colorado bracket play is usually where things kind of start to fall and play a little bit.
Yeah,
but it's a process.
I texted mine yesterday. We were going back and forth because we did some training and stuff, and I was texting a few of them. And I said, "Can y'all hurry up and get something here, please? Can this get done? Let's go. Tired of messing around.
Let's go. You gotta
be here before we know it.
You got some hardware to defend there, brother."
Yeah, that's done. That's already put over there. We don't. We're our record's 0-0, just like everybody else.
That's it. New year.
All right, guys. We appreciate y'all jumping on here. We'll see you on the next one, and we can't thank y'all for taking the time that you do to listen to us bullshit. So y'all make sure you have a good day.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
You're listening to the Two in the Mud podcast with Tony Rico and Scott Smith.